Hi, it's Etharal here, and today we are back with Baldwin Scinstair, our King or Emperor of Midland in our Crusader Kings 2 Warhammer game, where we have been looking to try and expand with the ultimate goal at the minute of trying to become the Emperor of the entire Empire and unite all of that. So there's been quite a fair bit going on since the last episode. We have managed to finish off the war that our wife, the Empress of Imperial Reikland, has been having against Norland, and instead she has been attacked by Avaland, who are trying to claim some lands off her. So we've wheeled our guys around from the north, ran them straight down south with the aim of being able to defend her. The last thing that we want to do with her being our wife and our son being the the heir to both kingdoms, the last thing we want to do is give less land for him to inherit. We're also trying to look at some potential people that he could marry, maybe to be able to expand our lands even further still, although there isn't very many options in that way in the actual empire itself. Unfortunately, it does seem like he is kind of limited for options. We could potentially have him. There is a young queen down to the south in Tigra, however, they are a little bit too far away. I don't think those are lands that we could defend and still be able to focus on at the same time. So unfortunately we're not going to try and focus on those too much or anything like that. I think we're going to look for somebody a little bit close to home, and with, if needs be, with just some better stats. We are in a case at the minute where we've got some less than ideal stats, so we're going to try and basically infect using genetics basically to try and breed those out of our family in theory, although breed probably not quite the best word. So here we're just moving our forces around just a little bit, just to try and make sure that we can attack as much of Alvaland as possible. In this mod, the thing that I have noticed is that there does seem to be a lot of your war score does seem to come from wars, certainly a lot more so than I have noticed in the vanilla game. I don't know whether that is the case, whether that is just generally the case, or whether that is something that I personally have noticed, but it does seem to be the case with this one. So it's something that I am trying to focus more on the wars there, trying to be able to beat back Avaland, and then hopefully be able to bring them into line and convince them to stop trying to go after my wife's stuff. As the last thing we want to do is try and be having to try and come down here to the south every few years as they decide that they want to try and take something from her. There up the north, you'll see I was just checking as well about the religion. It's something that I did mention at the end of the last video, that basically I'm a little bit worried that what we could begin to see is that because half of our empire will be Sigmarite, half of our empire will be Ulfric worshippers, when we do go to the actual manage to unify the two lands, ideally we want to try and make sure that as much of the lands that we currently have is under the Ulfric worshippers, so that way we've got a good solid base for when there are going to be religious rebellions and things like that. It's something that I'm pretty sure is going to happen to our son, something he's going to have to be aware of, so make sure that we can sort that out as quickly as possible. Here we are just dealing with a little bit of internal politics. The guys in Norland are related to us and that, and they are plotting some stuff against people in our lands, which is not something that we certainly want, although we are mainly looking at external at the minute. Everything is pretty stable in Midland, and Baldwin has managed to control a fair bit of land, although here's somebody trying to get somebody else up to wanting to basically remove ourselves. So we are going to look at trying to potentially just get him just a little bit nicer, a little bit more happy with us. And so he's only at 33 at the minute, so he could certainly be improved by a fair bit. So we are going to look at trying to arrange to get a close marital tie with his son. I think that's a good situation to find ourselves in. So once he does that, if we can get the close marital ties, then he is more than likely able to. So you can see his strength, he is over 100% of ours, so he would be able to attack us and probably do pretty well if he did want to. So we're going to need to potentially consider reducing these forces, although we don't want to reduce them while they're still with us. And however, there we can see our wife has gotten pregnant again, and there has been that is another interesting thing, as yet again it seems that we were not around for the conception as far as we can remember. Again though, what Baldwin does decide to do, he decides, you know what, I'm not going to test it, I'm not going to check, I'm going to leave as is for the minute, and we're just going to try and forget about it. We don't want to risk throwing the potential that our son could gain, our definite son could gain, into question, and that will only cause more problems in the long run. Here we have decided as well to designate that guy as our regent to try and make him just a little bit happier, as it is this main big bulk guy here. So the last thing we want to do is have him leave, although we are also going to move our diplomat in with the intention of basically bringing him, you know, even more into the fold, more happy with us, so that way he doesn't want to leave, he doesn't want anybody else to be independent, you know, he doesn't want to be independent, he doesn't want to try and, you know, change the throne away from us or anything like that, which would cause a lot of problems and is not something that we do want to see have happen. So fingers crossed that should all blow over with the internal politics. The internal politics are something that we haven't had to deal with too much at the minute, although we really are going to have to keep track of them, as we want to make sure that we do keep Midland particularly solid and unified, as we are about to massively increase the amount of land that we do have. So the more stable that Midland is for our son, the better things are going to be overall. Basically, who I believe, if I remember right, his name is Peter, so that'll be the third of the Peter Scinstair that we will be actually controlling ourselves. So here, this war been going reasonably well. We were going to pull our forces back up, but Baldwin actually did decide, you know what, we're going to stick with it. We're going to stick to this. We're going to keep them committed down in the south. That is basically that the war is starting to drag on a little bit too long. I mean, we're up to sort of 75% war score, but this has been going on for a good few years now. So we want to try and work with them to just basically be able to remove that actual besiegement to the land that they were targeting. That we think will really cause a lot of advantages in the long run to ourselves. When unfortunately we do receive word that there is an actual peasant revolt going on, that peasant revolt is something that we are going to have to deal with sooner probably rather than later, although for the minute they aren't too much of a concern. You know, the war score is actually going up in our favour, so that's a good thing, although for the minute, so we're going to try and focus. We're going to keep this force, you know, another month or so down in the south, and then we're going to wheel them up, get them up as fast as we can up to the north, to then be able to deal with whatever that peasant revolt is that is going on, although it is steadily increasing. And so there we go, we've managed to release that besiegement, so we're going to now get those guys up as fast as we can. Thankfully it is in the southern borders of Midland, so that is a pretty good situation for us to find ourselves in. I think we can get them up there pretty fast before they look at actually being able to successfully siege that castle, which then, if they were to successfully siege it, that's when there's a little bit of a problem with that one and that, so we will deal with these guys before then or anything. And so just steadily, you know, we're going to get these up here as fast as we possibly can, and there we go, we are now going to have war with them. Thankfully there is no actually generals in their armies, so we do manage to pretty much wipe the floor with them pretty quickly. They are then going to chase them down. We've lost a few number of people. He's now usurped a title. That was the guy who has been looking at trying to do a faction against us, and then we are going to move these guys up further as well. So there we go, that is these guys who are now completely, you know, they're at the stage where they're not going to be too much of a risk for the time being. We're going to move up this host here. Don't think that we want to be dealing with those or anything like that, so I'm going to try and just sort of scare them out a little bit, scare them out of our lands and everything. Well, there we go, they run out quite quickly. We're going to put these forces back to, you know, just going back to work in the field. There, we're going to leave the wars for the minute. We're at 91%. We've contributed a fair bit to our wife's war, so she should be pretty happy with us. And now I think for the minute the main focus is just going to be entirely just trying to solidify the Imperial Midland, maybe expand some of ours. I think Osterland, yeah, we have passed the truce date with Osterland, so we could declare war on them to be able to expand our lands a little bit further. So that's probably going to be the next thing that we're going to really focus on doing ourselves. See, here we are, I mean, we've got a force of over 7,000, so we are going to be, we're pretty strong position here, really. So hopefully everything internal should be going pretty well. We have managed to expand our castle as well, so we're going to look at expanding that though even further again. We want to really get that castle up to a point where it is able to, you know, be really just a solid lump, and it's bringing in a lot of levies and everything there for us. So if you do want to see how everything goes with all of the actual wars and the expansion of Midland to unite the whole of the Empire, do be sure to subscribe, hit that subscribe button down below, and you'll obviously get your actual notifications for when my next videos and such are coming out. So back here, just checking out the guys up in Ostland. They are a lot weaker than us, so do believe they are somebody that we shouldn't have too much problem fighting against or anything like that. They do have a fair number of allies, however, so don't quite know if it's something you want to bring into them, bring them in just yet and sort of declare war against them, although we do have a few different options for guys that we could actually bring in, call to war to be able to help us. So I think it's a safe. We can probably beat them in sort of a one-to-one fight. We could also, declare war against that one guy. Is a completely independent guy, although there wouldn't really be all that much benefit to attacking him, because if we were to attack him, then we would have to, eventually we would have to attack Ostland for that one single place, which doesn't benefit us in any way, shape or form, really, to be honest. So not going to focus on that just yet. At the minute now. Oh, there we go. Prince Peter has now became full official adult. He's unsightly, he's weak, but he does have a fair few decent actual personality traits. So we're going to have a look and see exactly who it is that we want to get him to marry. This is a woman. She's still young, but she's an option. Betrothed to promise to marry her. We obviously do need to look at some other options just to continue on our alliances with various other people, although there doesn't really seem to be any options to be able to massively expand our lands, which is a bit of a shame. Although for the minute that's not the end of the world. We couldn't take Talbotland or Avaland or Stirland, anybody like that. We couldn't through marriage. Unfortunately, they're probably going to need to be wars for the foreseeable future, although we will keep an eye out on everything, and if that was to change, then that's not the end of the world or anything like that. So thinking about it, she would be inheriting some land off Nordland, but Hunchback, weak, all that sort of thing, she's not a viable option, unfortunately. She's not somebody that we really bring in. Now, the Queen of Tigar, even, I keep thinking land because it's the Empire. She is very strong. She is somebody that we could really bring in, and she wouldn't be a bad person to bring in by any stretch of imagination. However, unfortunately, she is a case that she is too young, so I want to be trying to get my son to have children as soon as possible. So not really going to be able to choose her, so we are really limited in the number of options that we do have. Unfortunately, we'll keep looking around. I'm sure we'll be able to find somebody eventually who will be somebody who can benefit us, preferably somebody who is, related to an actual king. That would be the ideal situation for us to find ourselves in. Looking around, though, there doesn't seem to be really all that many options, though. We do have a fair few people who are, this one, she could do, yeah, she'll do for the minute. Mainly at the minute, we just want to get somebody who's reasonably okay, and then we will hopefully be able to, just get some children out, get another generation. We've managed to pass, obviously, from father to son for a very long time, and we do want to ideally keep that situation going for as long as we possibly can, really. So here, again, just keep looking and we want to make sure that we're getting the right one and see if there's possibly anybody. Given that we can't seem to see anybody, external, we do go, okay, is there maybe anybody internal as well? Also do notice that guy who was considering a faction against us now is actually very happy with us. So, that is a very good situation. He won't be hopefully doing any factions or wanting to claim any independence anytime soon. At least that's the, the fingers crossed sort of way of putting it. So here, this is somebody managed to find. She's very, very good. So yeah, we are going to actually marry her. She is related to this revolt, so they will have an alliance with them. However, that's not something we need to be too much worried about at the minute. We can help them if needs be and everything, but for the minute we just want to get somebody for our son to be able to marry who has got some decent features and everything like that. So she's not going to unfortunately allow us to inherit any extra land, so to get our son better we are going to have to be declaring a fair few wars, which is going to make some interesting situations over the coming episodes, as we haven't been really focusing on wars all that much, although that is going to be something we are going to have to change around. So here, having a look around, we're going to have a look to kick that all off with. We're going to attack Ostland again, as we could have attacked them anytime in the last 2 years, and we are going to do some Imperial Reconquest to be able to claim eventually all of Ostland, bring all of it under our control. We are also, as well as raising up all of our forces, we are definitely going to also bring all of our allies into this war, as well as I do believe between us and them we will very easily be able to crush Ostland and remove them as a kingdom and everything like that. So we're going to leave it there for today. I'll skip ahead a little bit of time to see how everything goes for you. So if you have enjoyed the video and do want to see more, do be sure to subscribe here at EGN for all future content. Don't want you to miss out on that or anything like that, obviously. And then we will see in the future how it is that Baldwin and Peter do go, and whether they do actually manage to expand Midland even further. So again, thank you very much for watching. I shall see you next time here at EGN.